One Shelf. I'm Paula. I'm Tabby. And today we are hosting Ashtyn Kiana, and she is a debut author, and her first book is Always Been Yours.
Hi.
Yay! She's a romance contemporary author, and she was one of our first ARC reads. So super exciting to have her on our show.
Hi, I'm really excited. I didn't realize I was one of the first ARC reads you guys got. I love that. I did have a bookstagram before, so I remember when I got like my first ARCs and stuff. It was so exciting.
I know. No, it was super exciting. We actually messed up ourselves during that time as well too, because we didn't realize that we would get approved for so many.
So we were just like, oh, sign up, sign up. And then we were like, oh, we got 8 ARCs.
But I think you were our first, second. I think first. Maybe. I think first and second one that we did. So it's super exciting.
This is so exciting.
Usually we are just stuck in the fantasy world. So your book kind of brought us back into the romance world, which was really exciting.
Well,
so it was just
that.
Yes, a palate cleanser from all the fairies.
I love books that go to Pound Town. So I'm always here for that.
Yeah, and this hot spice.
So I guess like one of our first questions is, what was your writing process for Always Been Yours? Did you pull from any like personal experiences?
Definitely I did. There's a lot of me in both Vivi and Grady. Vivi is very like type A personality, is very much me. Grady's relationship, it's not talked about too much, but it is mentioned, but his relationship with being half Mexican and he doesn't speak Spanish when a lot of his other family does, that also, that is very much my experience with it. But my parents are also separated, so there's definitely, I feel like Stella and Daisy are like the two kind of sides of like me during that time. So their scenes still like almost always make me cry when I go back over.
Oh, I love that. That's really cool. Like how you said that, you brought basically different aspects of just that whole relationship to each individual person. It was actually really neat, especially like with Daisy and Stella too.
Yeah. Their scenes are always a lot of fun to write, especially because I feel like there's just very two different sides of being young girls, so it's really fun to get to go back to that nostalgic mindset.
Yeah, and kids always say what's on their minds at all times, so I feel like writing kid scenes would probably be funny because they're just very blunt.
Oh yeah.
Her daughter is one of them.
Yeah, she's ruthless and it hurts my feelings a lot. But okay, so did you make a mug as a kid that had a hole in it, or that didn't?
So, okay, the way that this got added is so random. I think I was about to do the last read through, and then me, one of my friends, and then my editor, we were all talking about what we wanted to do for the chapter heading, and we had no idea for Grady. And she was like, well, you could do a best dad mug or something. And I was like, yeah, but it's never mentioned, it just would be so random. And then that just kind of snowballed into, well, what if one of the girls likes it? And then, oh my God, wouldn't it be so funny if there's just this hole and it's so Grady to use it? So that got added. That was one of the very last things that got added. And it has genuinely added so much to the story. So...
Oh, I love that!
Because it was so cute. I loved the cup part.
I know.
I don't know. It was just, they were small, and it was just small in the grand scheme of everything. But I was like, I love it when my daughter makes me art. She hasn't made me a cup, but it was just so cute, so relatable.
I think it would be so cute if I knew you're in your candle making era as well too. I think it'd be cute if you made like those mismatched mugs and you made them into candles.
That is such a good idea. Yep.
That would be super cute.
I'll be going to Goodwill this week.
And also, reverting back to not speaking Spanish, I relate to that 100%. So, my family actually came here from Panama. So, I wasn't born in the United States. We came here when I was 4. But I basically just grew up here most of my life anyways. And there's a lot of times that my mom would speak Spanish to me, and then I would just answer her in English. So I never really had to learn it in a way just because I just always answered back in English. But now as an adult, I really hate that I really didn't take the time to do it. Like probably one of my biggest regrets. Like, I can speak it to some extent. It's very broken and does not make sense half the time.
Yeah.
But it is funny hearing Tabby's side of it too, just from us being kids and growing up in high school and stuff. Because when we would go to band practice, this band practice would go over long, and we would get in the car. My mom's like mad and fuming about it, just yelling in Spanish, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, Mom, I know, it's okay, it's okay.
I'm like, what's she saying? What did she tell you? And you're just so. I don't know what's happening. She's so mad, and you're so okay. What's happening?
It just sounds harsher than it really is.
Right.
Just sometimes the Spanish language just sound like very harsh, but they'll be saying like "I love you," but I'm like "I love you," like it's very like hard.
I'm starting to pick up on a little bit. Like your mom asked me a question in Spanish, and I actually answered it at dinner the other night. I was like, I did not answer it in Spanish. I answered it in English. And I was like, I know what you told me.
Just good friends forever.
So
it's really similar in kind like just growing up around it. My dad is first generation Mexican American, but his 3 oldest siblings were all in Mexico. But I mean, my grandma only speaks Spanish. I spent a lot of time with her as a child. And it's the same thing. I can understand a lot more of it than I can speak, but I had to teach for like my R's when I was younger, so I can't roll them either, like just R's in general. And so there was always growing up, like I was always typically called the gringa and stuff like that, which makes me really self-conscious because also physically I'm a lot lighter than a lot of my cousins and stuff, so it took me a really long time to feel not connected to it, but like that I had the right to claim that like side of myself. Because I was always told that if I can't speak Spanish, then I'm not Mexican or Latina or whatever. And that was hard, especially living in New Mexico because it's such a big Hispanic culture already.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. I know so I've only been back to Panama once. It was when I was 10. And I spent the whole summer there. Not feeling, I guess, like Hispanic enough, just because I, again, understood it and I could speak it to some extent. And of course, I'm immersed in that. I'm kind of picking up a lot faster.
Yeah.
But I remember feeling like just not being Spanish enough was just, not being able to, I guess, compare to them because people would be kind of upset that he was just like, oh, because they would call me the gringa too, especially because I came to the United States.
Right.
Like that.
But it like I said, it's not really talked about a lot with Grady, but I definitely think in the future that would probably be a bigger aspect to a character I would eventually write. And because I think it's especially hard when you grow up in a household that still holds a lot of that culture, but you're just missing this really like big part,
Yeah, no, I can definitely get that. And it would be cool to, I guess, kind of read that and just feel that aspect. So, but I guess another part of the book that I think we both really like, I'm a hoe for text message threads in books. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I'm like, bubble. I just love reading.
I did love that too.
Like, I'm just always here for it. And I just love that, kind of the family group chat was always popping on, especially by the queen of mischief herself, Lexi. She always had something crazy to say.
So I remember listening to the podcast that you guys did about the arc read for Always and Years. And I have to genuinely say, when you guys said that reading, especially the text messages, that any scenes that they kind of were all in together made you feel like you like wanted to just step in the book and be in there, is honestly what like listening to your podcast feels like. If you're just sitting there in a little gap session, when you guys are talking, I was like, oh, I would have something, like. So
We need the group text podcast.
I know, like an Instagram post is what we need.
Yeah, tell us your thoughts. That's awesome.
Text messages scenes are really fun though. Sometimes writing dialogue, it can be kind of hard because you have to mix in gestures and feelings and like how they said things, where text messages, like none of that matters. It's just these quick, snappy responses. It's very similar to how when you're texting someone and you kind of get to choose how you like read that, you know? So yeah, I definitely feel like banter in text sometimes just go so well because it's just so quick. I wish I could fit in more text messages, honestly.
Yeah, because that was so fun to read. Did you like scroll through your phone and it's like, okay, here's my family chat. What do we say? How can I add some of these text messages in here? Because I feel like I would have done that with some of my mom personally.
I have a lot of group chats with my friends, especially my friends that I met like through books and stuff. And sometimes it just gets going, you know? So definitely I took a lot of that for inspiration. Yeah. Oh, there's 3 friends specifically that really make up like Lexi is as a person as well. So that definitely helps because I just have all these crazy things that they have said. That's like, okay.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, that was one of my questions. I just love how chaotic and uncensored that she is. And that was like the next question I was going to ask, if there was somebody that just kind of, that was Lexi in her life.
Yeah. So my friend Lindsay, I met her going into our freshman year of college. Like, we didn't hate each other or anything like that, but we had gone to opposite schools, so we had followed each other on Twitter or whatever. But we were at a party once and we were like, oh, aren't you going to so-and-so? Like, yeah, aren't you? And then we just were like, okay, we're gonna be friends. And we still are friends, but she is just like such an authentically herself person and really helped me learn how to be that way, especially because like freshman year of college, I just am so like introverted and like I lost my grandpa going into that, like, so it just was really hard for me, and she just is, yeah, so authentically herself. But then I met my friend Lyra Asher. She's a fantasy author. And then I met my friend Hillary through books. And they both are just 2 of, honestly, the most sexually comfortable people that I have ever met. And I don't come from a strict conservative family, like parents or anything like that, but I definitely was a prude growing up. And even just in the like couple years I've known them, they have like very much like helped me feel more comfortable in those aspects of my life. And they also did the most out of pocket things you could ever imagine. When I got on birth control, my friend Hillary said, oh, good, now you can be a Twinkie instead of a toaster strudel. And I was like, great. So that's as an example of where Lexi's like if you want to know truly how I get the things Lexi says, it's because they truly say things like that.
That is awesome.
Why do I want like a sweatshirt that's a Twinkie and a strudel now? And I also want to be in a group chat with them.
Yeah,
I just want to hear all these things.
Tell me your dirtiest things.
That is amazing.
Yeah, so it's honestly just it's crazy. And so they inspire Lexi a lot. But I think they also are just like some of the biggest girls I've ever met. And I feel like at the heart of who Lexi is, that is it, you know? She literally was like, I hate this girl, but I hate how these people are treating her more. So, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, Lexi is probably my favorite character.
No, I can definitely.
She was a fun character for us too.
Especially just like her dumpster fire of like just dating. Like, all of the dates that she went on were always so bad.
That was my favorite part to read. I mean, I love the whole book in general, but anytime Lexi's stories, I was like, what's happening now? Like, what happened to you today?
I should also give credit to my friend Savannah. I texted in a group chat once, and I was like, I need, like, icks, you know? Just, like, but not, like, icks, like, he doesn't have, like pillowcases, you know? Like, something that's so specific that it's like, I would have never thought about that. Not even an hour later, I get a note app invite, and it says Ix, a memoir by Sav. And she still adds to it to this day. Like, sometimes it'll open my notes, and I'm like, Amazing. Thank you.
That is awesome.
So Lexi is a group effort.
Yeah, no. You know how you have like a dictionary? You should have the Ictionary. Oh, a dictionary.
Okay, that will be some bonus content in Lexi's book, because that is kind of still on the topic of Lexi, though. I will be honest. I think her book is the one I'm the most scared to write, because it's kind of just like, one, whoever Lexi ends up with has to truly be so perfect for Lexi, where I feel a lot of times there's a little bit of wiggle room there of like, maybe they're not percent perfect, but people make it work, you know? But with Lexi, they have to be perfect, and it's going to be so much banter through the whole thing.
And I think that's honestly, like, she needs someone that's going to meet her head on.
Mhm.
She can't have anybody that's kind of above her or below her, because if someone's below her, then she's going to, like, pull right over them. She has to have a match energy type partner, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So I'll be outlining her book pretty soon. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Do you already have, like, a person in mind?
Yes.
That you're gonna,
Everyone who is getting a book, I already know who they're going to end up with, and I know the basis, what, you know, they're working toward or what the plot will be, except for Lexi.
Okay. All right.
Story.
Well, I feel like you left a lot of Easter eggs in Always Been Yours for Calypso specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure, I know that you mentioned before that a lot of people thought your next book was going to be about Calypso and her person. So I am excited though that you're writing about Adrian and Blake. And that you sent the character art as well too. They look so cute. They really do.
I'm really excited. There are some things I kind of just threw in early in the book. I was like, oh yeah, like they got married quick and young, and I didn't really think about it. And then as I was writing their book, I was like, okay, I have to keep those things in mind. But I hadn't really thought about writing about them, and that's kind of why I just threw things in about them. But 3 of my friends asked about them specifically, and so I was going to do a novella, and then it turned into much more. And I'm really excited for it. It's definitely the story I didn't expect from the series. I knew I would write about all 4 of the Davy siblings and Lexi, but having Blake and Adrian is really exciting.
I can definitely see that, especially just because of the relationship between Blake and Genevieve. I just feel having more understanding of what happened with them, because we do get some of that in Always Been Yours, but I feel like just knowing a little bit more about that too would be nice to wrap everything up. Like overall, I feel like they're stressed most of the book about work and doing things, trying to hash out all the business. So it's going to be nice to get their story of how they got to where they're at. And I don't know, I'm excited. So excited.
You actually won't see any of the Davy siblings in her book. She will talk a bit about her and Vivi. But I mean, the timeline of it is like Vivi would be away at UCLA for college. So, but you will get to see quite a few chapters with Grady as like a young dad. And there is some chapters where you will get to see more of an insight into what his and Ariel's relationship like was like.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. So it's gonna be kind of confusing if people start with like Blake's book and then go back to Grady's book. But if you have read the first book, I think that it's gonna be really interesting. And hopefully just continues to humanize Ariel in a way.
Which is good. I hated and loved her character at the same time. But that was probably my favorite part. But I know we talked about the group chat, but I'm her stepmom. My husband has a son, and it was just kind of like, oh, I don't get to read romances like this, and this is my life. I mean, it wasn't exactly the same, obviously, but I was just like, this has happened to me. I can relate to so much stuff going on, you know, the awkwardness of having to leave the kids, but also like taking in the kid as your own kind of thing, how he kind of did. It was just, I don't know, it was too much. It was too much for me. It was so good, and I was so happy that the romance that we read, because I didn't know. Well, I mean, I knew a little bit more into the arc, but I didn't expect it was going to be that way. So I was just like, oh, this is so great. A romance where it's not just two random people who have nothing going on. It's somebody who has other priorities, like their children in mind.
Yeah.
And coming into the big picture. So I loved how complex this book was. And also just like mature. Like I feel like it was just I think we talked about this like in our podcast too. It was just that it wasn't a lot of drama drama. Like there was, but I feel like everything was kind of handled very maturely in a way.
Yes.
Well,
It wasn't just okay, well I could see like we've had these conversations or we've had disputes and trying to blend our family that way, and it's hard. So it was just kind of it was nice and refreshing to be like, I've been through this. I know these things.
I'm really glad that it does like resonate in that way. I have a stepmother. I also have a stepdad, so I do have those complex relationships in my life. When I first started thinking about the book, I had an initial idea that it grew off of, and part of why I decided to make Grady the single dad was because I think so often single parent books are like they're single parent because either the husband or the wife passed away or because the ex is just a shitty person, and those stories are so important to tell as well. And as someone with divorced parents, it's just often not the reality, and co-parenting is the reality for so many different families. And I thought, yeah, it just was different. I know that some people might not enjoy the other woman drama, and that's definitely okay. I do understand. But my goal was for it to resonate with people, whether you were the kid of a divorced couple or you were the step parent or the mom who has to accept the new stepmom. I hope to show blended families a lot throughout my books instead of just the traditional nuclear idea of it.
Yeah, no, I think you did a really good job. Like, with this book, like specifically and stuff too. Yeah, and I don't feel like I was kind of like, okay, how is this gonna go with Ariel? I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, is she gonna blow up or are they gonna be mature and have a conversation? And when they were mature and had a conversation, obviously there was that tension there, but it was still like in that respect way. Yeah, of course there's gonna be tension. Like there's tension in all blended families.
Right.
But I feel like the way you wrote it really captured it in a positive light versus a negative one. So that was just really exciting for me. I was like, okay, well, part of me wanted Ariel to go wild, but the other part of me was so thankful she did it because that's not reality all the time. Like you said, that doesn't happen. Like anytime me and Brent are trying to talk with my stepson's mom, it is so cordial and we just figure things out. It's never just awkward. It's never like that. I mean, it was a little awkward at first. That tension was there, but it was never handled immature because kid is our priority. It doesn't matter about our feelings. So I feel like you did a really great job capturing that throughout the book.
Thanks. And I, even like with beta readers and stuff, a lot of comments were every time like Ariel would pop up, they were like, her again. But then it gets to the moment when Vivi's stepping out of the car and she's like, what have you told her? What am I stepping into right now? Almost every one of them like highlighted that and was just like, oh my God, I have been so mean to this woman when it has been stated that Grady does not communicate well. He doesn't want to burden people, And so I honestly feel really proud of that reaction because that kind of is what I was going for. I think it is so easy to judge the person in the situation that we don't know, but our narrators are not always the most reliable either,
Yeah. I love that. It was so good. It was my favorite part. My favorite, I guess, overall insert. Perfect. Wonderful. Well done. Well, I guess switching over to our little sneak peek couple too.
Yes.
So, what made you, I guess, like kind of pick their story first to write out of the series?
They honestly were just the first two people that I thought of, and then it all just expanded. The song Perfume by Dal Watergap that is in the playlist of the book, but I just love that song. I love him. But I was listening to it one day, and I mean, it's like very on the nose for what the song is saying, but I just was thinking, well, this would be a really good scene in a book. And he is talking about how they're out playing pool and stuff, but he's thinking about getting to go home later with her and stuff. And so I was like, okay, I kind of like that. And then once I got that idea, it just spiraled into how would they like know each other. And I feel like Always Been Yours honestly feels like a fever dream. I got the idea. I think the next day I sent my friend a 20-minute voice note and was like, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And she was like, oh my God, please write it. And then I just kind of started it. I wrote the first draft in maybe 2.5 months.
Dang.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
You were ready.
Yeah. Like,
master
it
typer.
really feels just like a fever dream. I feel like I always was like, oh, I'm going to write a book one day. And I had an idea of a book I could write, but it never really turned into anything. But a lot of the characters really just formed in my mind as they are now. I always knew that Lexi and Vivi's relationship was going to start as this sort of enemy, they hate each other, that turned into something more. And then once I got the idea of, well, Brady's a single dad, how would that have happened? I also was like, well, I don't want it to be so bad. I don't want them to have dated when they're kids and he cheated on her or something, And so that's kind of how the homecoming thing came, because I was like, okay, at 14 years old, that's heartbreaking, And then as you get older, you can look back and be like, okay, was it that deep? Probably not. But yeah, it's the process of Always Been Yours has been so different from the second book, because this one definitely, I think partly because the characters are more built, but it's been a lot more of having to figure out how certain pieces can go together, and I didn't face that the first time.
2.5 months. That was insane. Wow. When I was writing papers for my bachelor's degree, I always pulling teeth to get on the computer to write paragraphs. It was bad. And I used to be really, really bad about writing papers. Tabby wrote one of my papers one time because I just procrastinated so bad. And one of our classes that we had to take, it was a music appreciation class, and we had to go to a concert about it. Well, our teacher was a huge stoner, 100%. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. You could 100% tell he was just this huge stoner. So I wrote my story about how the song made me feel like I was on Mount Olympus with Pegasus and Hercules. And all of these just very descriptive things. And he gave me an A on it. So I don't think it had anything to do with the music at all. But he was probably tripping me. He was probably tripping me your paper. I just getting back to Levy and Grady. One of my favorite scenes by them was when he cages her in when she refuses to drink water. Basically, is lowering her voice and says, I'm in no rush to get back to the table because the only company I came for is here tonight. I was like, ooh, I was here for this caveman moment. I was like, say it again.
I honestly make myself blush when I am writing. Sometimes I'll be completely alone in my room, face red, oh my God. Yeah, I sometimes go back. I feel like you black out sometimes and you go back to those scenes that you write and you're like, oh my God, I wrote that.
That is awesome. Because some of these parts I was like, yeah. I was like, let me take a minute here. Yeah, because I'm just sitting here. If I was trying to write a spicy scene, it wouldn't go very well. No. I feel like they poked one of those.
Well, as you guys very kindly pointed out, one of my spicy scenes didn't go well, so...
It's a little crunchy. Just a little crunchy. I don't know what made me think about that. I remember reading it. It just kind of hit me later on. I was like, wait, he never changed his pants. He still has his crunchy pants.
I literally paused the podcast and I was like, wait a second. And then I was like, I didn't. Like, he didn't. And then I told my editor, and she was like, how did I miss that? And 5 people read it, and all of them were, how did I not catch that? So I got through so many people.
Oh, I feel honored here. No semen is gonna get
Which is actually funny. I know you were asking about getting a original cover of the book, and I was going to say I can either order a new one, or if you really want the OG one, I have it with the original scene before I edit it to Grady cleaning himself up. So if you would like the original scene of the crunchy pants, I will send you that copy.
I need the crunchy pants. The crunchy pants. Because it was so funny. She came up to me, she goes, hey, did you notice this? I was like, what are you talking about? And then we laid it on. I was like, you really did have crunchy pants. You did. But it was so funny because I feel like they're two grown-ups, but they still had all these kid moments because they were childhood. I can totally imagine a whole splooge in the pants moment. I can totally imagine that being a real life thing. And he's just like, well, I'm going to the store to get my lovers some pants, you know?
I would like it to go on record. He never went to the store in them, but it was the next night, okay? I should like that to go on record.
Yes, it made me love the story that much more. It wasn't even a bad thing. Because this man's out here buying bagels with crunchy pants. Like, doing whatever he wants. Just living his whole best life. But what was one of your favorite scenes of Blake Grady and Judy? God, all of them. I don't know. I kind of liked it toward the end when Grady was standing. I guess this doesn't necessarily go with them two together, but when he was standing up to coach. Oh, yeah. Like when he finally put that butt wad in a place, because I could not stand that guy. I was like, oh, but he was just defending his woman's honor, and I was like,
that was also an addition by my editor. Yes, Kristana has some of the best ideas. I appreciate her mind so much. It was, again, toward one of the last read-throughs, and she was just like, I feel like he wouldn't just accept this assignment so easily, the pie throwing or whatever, you know? So I think there needs to be some sort of build-up to that. So then I was like, okay, so I threw it in there, and at first when I started writing the scene, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing right now, honestly. I was like, how would Grady be? He's a pretty timid guy, you know? Yeah. He would really have to say something to piss him off, and I really ended up loving the scene. I think it's also the scene, because you have that moment when Hudson takes the girls to the car, and he's like trying to get Daisy into the like seatbelt or whatever, and that, I think, is the scene that a lot of people now have really clung on to Hudson, and I kind of didn't expect that.
I can see that, though. I mean, I don't know. I kind of find it attractive, too, that he just knew to the girls and just kind of escort them away from everything that was happening so they didn't see their dad kind of go all macho man on this other coach. You know? Yeah. I was so ready for Grady to finally just buckle up Buttercup. And it was because it was just his character growth. Because you said he is this timid guy, but it's just like, okay, I've been waiting for him the whole time to take that step for Phoebe because that's the one thing that he's been goofing up on, like his whole life. Yeah. So
literally.
Like, put it out there, like, I'm standing up for my woman. I'm not taking anyone else to homecoming. Sit down, coach. It was just so, I don't know, all of it was, that part, I was just like, yes, that's my man. I definitely feel like it went from, you know, him having that boyhood energy to now he's finally shining in his, you know, his big energy at that point, too. He was swinging around like a flag. Not like a flag. Like helicopters and everything. Yeah. Oh, gosh. But, just, I don't know. I love that part. That was just so good for me. But the build up to that part, it just made so much sense. Like the way he was kind of being, I guess, not passive aggressive in the bar with Coach, but he was just like, hey, man, let's be kind about this. Let's throw away shoot you. And then at the end, he's like, I'm single. That was probably one of my greatest BB, I guess, moments because he was defending her honor. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the conversation between him and Ariel, which was also a suggestion, not by my editor, but by someone else. And then adding the scene in between him and Harper, I think it really adds to him winning her back, where originally it just jumped to the fair. And you didn't really see this behind the scenes work that Grady was doing. And I didn't really realize this while I was writing it, but I feel like there wasn't necessarily a lot of growth on Vivi. I feel like she just came into the story very comfortable of where she was at, and she didn't need to do that work. You know, it was very dependent on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. But she did have to work on like forgiveness, I guess, as an overall thing.
Yeah.
Whereas like she did have her own little character growth, even though it wasn't like, okay, Grady, you got to make some leaps, boy. Like you got the time to make up for that roof. You got a lot of time to make up for. Like, speaking of Grady, big dick energy, we gotta talk about this censored photo of him maybe on the couch. Because let me tell you, I screamed when I saw it. Yeah, I remember, like, and I think I was just scrolling. I didn't go to your Instagram. I was scrolling. I was like,
oh, and you guys have still only seen the censored one, huh? Cause
yes,
okay, yeah, because I'm sending you guys all the prints soon. But yes.
And it's uncensored?
Yes. I added the blur so I didn't get blocked off Instagram. Honestly, it's amazing. Vivi is beautiful, sexy, love her. But when you guys see Grady's ass, that is literally the star of the picture.
That's what I'm talking about. I love baseball ass.
Yeah.
It was just giving me like Bridgerton last season vibes with Penelope on the couch. Like that's exactly where my mind went. I was like, oh,
I'll take that.
Yeah. I was like, here we are. Because I think you called me and you're like, did you see it? I'm like, I see what? She's like, the picture. The picture.
Gave zero other context clues of who it was or what it was.
I was just like, go here right now and look at this. And I was like, oh, I think I'm turning pink. Like, wow.
Yeah, I was not expecting that on my feed. I wasn't upset. I just wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That was exciting.
My mom
That was good
on
news.
Instagram, so that's so fun.
So you talked about kind of like how you black out when you write spicy scenes. Like, okay, where do you get some of this inspiration from your fight? Is it like your own life? Are you pulling stories still? Like, how do you write your spicy scenes just all together, minus just blacking out? Or do you black out on all of them and you're just like, yeah, I'm a freak? Like,
I don't know. Some of them. Well, okay, so kind of how you said, it does feel like that kind of high school energy of when you're around with your boyfriend for the first time. That was very intentional in Grady and Vivi's story, because it was like, well, I can see how they would, as adults, they now realize it's kind of stupid. They could fall into just being emotionally comfortable with each other again. So all of the Grady and Vivi stuff was pretty intentional, and also them just following that like formula of he fingers her and then they do oral, you know, it follows a very strict kind of like
regimen.
Yeah,
we're going to bases.
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
Time.
And then the scene with being tied up, I never have been. I think I would like it. I've never happened. But I think, again, because there's so much of me in Vivi, it would be something she would like. But I do think, too, she is even more type A than me. And she's obviously had different experiences, that there is also that moment of hesitation on her part. I already have ideas about Calypso's book and, like, what her spice will be like. And she is going to be very different, and that one definitely, I feel like I'm more taking inspiration from some of my friends, because Calypso's just all around a very dominant person, and I never imagined her being a woman who's dominant in her personal life but submissive sexually. So that one, honestly, is going to be a really big turn, and I'm a little more nervous to write it because it just is so different than what I have written, and like also me.
Yeah. Gotta step out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
I'm ready. 'Cause, I mean, your spice was spicing. So I'm excited for the next spicy spicing.
The next one, I think it's gonna lean more towards sweet, I guess. Not that Grady and Vivi were like particularly kinky or anything, but I definitely think it's more of about the emotion that comes with intimacy rather than just the pleasure. And then yeah, Calypso's book will then again be a turn. She is most likely going to be the third book, and Calypso would not like to be called good girl, you know, but she would call boy good boy. And so that is very much how that is going to
look. Like the dominatrix personality.
Yeah, I could definitely see her just kind of, maybe not necessarily that much, but like you said, I just don't see her being very submissive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's going to be interesting for sure. I don't know if any couple will ever be as horny as Grady and Vivi.
It was a long time coming for them, so I can understand.
It was years in the making.
Yeah, they had the build up. Yes. They had the build up.
So I know you mentioned you have like 5 dogs on the other side of your door.
Yeah.
Are any of them named Cinnamon and Vanilla?
They are not. I don't think I've ever had an animal of that name. I think I just chose it because it was easy to remember, honestly. There's already so many characters I have thrown in there. So yeah,
that's awesome.
It was simple enough.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think it's cute, honestly.
Yeah, I thought they were cute for cat names. They just made sense.
Yeah. I feel like for some reason cats can be named like that. I don't see a dog being like, "Oh yeah, come here, Vanilla," you know, just like or chocolate bar. You know, yeah. I feel like that's a very like cat kind of name. Like cats can be named anything. It's fine. So now, as a debut author, what has been the most exciting or surprising part of your journey with All Is in Yours so far?
I think the most surprising has probably been the amount of support I've gotten, but even just now with the amount of ARC signups I got was more than I had anticipated. The amount of page reads I in such a short time was what I was expecting by the end of the year, and I don't want to put too much emphasis on the numbers and stuff like that, but at the same time, it just does kind of matter, and not for the money side, but it's just people are reading this. People are liking it, you know? And I think the most exciting part was the week of my release. I planned a trip to Phoenix with some of my friends. It was about 10 of us. 3 of them are my friends that I know in real life, and then 6 of them were bookish friends that we all got to meet for the first time. And so I got to celebrate my book release with them. It just made the whole thing so much more special, you know? One of them was my editor, Kristana, so that was amazing. I would say those are really the 2 things that have stuck out with me the most so far.
I love that.
That is so cool.
I know.
Your own little hype release party. I love that.
I bet that like is just such a good feeling too. You're releasing your first book, or maybe even after 10 books, you probably still feel maybe a little bit anxious to just kind of put your work out there, something that you've just worked so hard on. And I'm sure just seeing the pages read and the downloads and stuff like that, I know that has to feel good in the end. But also, in a way, not necessarily putting numbers on it, but still, it still makes you feel good to just how successful it's been.
Yeah, it does. And I think, too, especially being a debut author, there is kind of this, I don't know, privilege, I guess, of it being your debut that I don't really know what successful is, you know? So it was successful to me, and that's going to look successful to someone else. But I do think the next release does make me a little bit more anxious, because now, like, is it going to do better, you know? Yeah, I think that's also been why it's been really hard to write this next book, because I think on the flip side, I am so appreciative, and I don't want to come off like that I'm not, of like people loving my book, is like also, you know, people loved this one, but what if they don't love the next one, you know? So that definitely can get you in your head a little bit, but I think it's definitely a lot of the readers that I've made more of friendships with. Like, you guys, a lot of the people who are in my street team with you are like readers that I have really interacted with a lot since they read my debut. I think that helps a lot because it does add a reminder to me that I still am a person and not just this person behind a screen and behind a book. And so, yeah, just the entire support of the book community has been unspeakable.
So,
I know.
it's like a bunch of friends.
I know, I love that. And honestly, I feel like a lot of the book community is very supportive. Because even if you see things on Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that, like I feel like people want to support people. People want to see other people do well and stuff. And I know you mentioned being scared about this being your second book, people not liking it and stuff, but you mentioned before, not every book is for everyone. And you're going to find people who love your series and things like that. So I wouldn't put that on you. You know, you're gonna find your people and the people that love you and like your book. Because I mean, I even told Tabby, like, I can't wait to meet her. I just want just a little ray of sunshine. You're going to find the people who love you for not only you as a person, but also your writing too.
Yeah.
I do. I really do appreciate that. And I do try to remember that. And one thing I can say that I have genuinely been very proud of myself through this is since the ARC process, I really don't check my reviews and stuff. But earlier on, when it first was coming out and stuff, I did just because I wanted to know what was going on at that time. And so I have seen 1 and 2 star reviews, and I have read 2 3-star reviews, and I mean, there was a sense of like, oh, that sucks, they didn't like what I wrote, but also I've honestly handled it so much better that it never felt discouraging or anything. I just was like, you know what, I have read books that were 1 and 2 stars, you know, and other people freaking love them, and it's fine. So it's definitely this thing of going back and forth between that of being, it's not for every person, and then just getting in your head and being like, why am I doing this?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's hard with just anything in life to just not be in your head about things. So
yeah, you're putting yourself out there, especially with so many characters have so many elements of you in there. It's just like, okay, they're judging me. I'm in these pages, but I mean, that I have bad anxiety, so I would be freaking out. Yeah, like you're handling it way better than I would. I'd be checking all the reviews, be like, oh gosh, I don't think I could ever write a book. I would spiral.
I can't spell, so and I can barely speak either. So God, I couldn't imagine what anything of that would look like.
Oh, my editor fixes so much for me. There's so many. I don't think this really makes sense, and I'm like, I don't know what I was trying to say either.
Well, I guess my other question is too, I know at brunch with Lexi and Calypso, Grady comes in, they talk about how he's looking like a panty dropper and all that good stuff. Was there anybody, I guess, in your mind, like a celebrity or anything that kind of inspired Grady and like his look?
Oh, she's like, yeah.
I can't wait to hear this.
So, to me, from the very, very, very beginning, pretty much since Grady got his name, Grady is Matthew Daddario. To me, one of my friends said that she kind of got Sebastian Stan, and I was like, I am also okay with that, but it's definitely Matthew Daddario.
Let me look him up.
That's Matthew Daddy. That's Daddy Matt. Yeah, a lot of people say that he would be like Azriel. Like, they kind of see him as Azriel.
And I'm also an Abby girl, so...
We gotta stop looking at him.
He does a beautiful man right there. I'm okay with that.
When I was planning Blake's character, who is Grady's sister, I knew she was going to look different from Grady, and imagine her with gray eyes, maybe a more fair complexion. And so I was looking at celebrities. I came across a picture of Alexandra Daddario, and I was like, this is perfect. Literally brother and sister inspiration for brother and sister. Like,
and they're both like, and they're opposite from each other. Like,
she has like darker hair and like grayish blue eyes. And I was like,
oh, yes, yeah.
She's older than him, I think. So that's the only thing is like I switched that. But yeah, I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. They're perfect. We need a TV show right now.
Live action already.
I could watch them all day. Look, put his naked butt on the couch. Please help me out, somebody. HBO, hear this. Help.
Well, I guess my last few questions is just kind of, I know you posted on your Instagram series order and all their tropes and things like that already. And we talked about like Adriana's Lake being the next book. I'm excited about that. And again, I love their character art. They just look so cute. I love Adrian's little like smirk. Like I just think it's so adorable.
Yeah.
But what other news can you share with us as far as just kind of the book? I guess like kind of your timeline, if you have a timeline.
I definitely plan on putting out at least the next 2 books in 2025. There's another secret project that does not involve Amada Beach at all that I'm also kind of putting together for the end of next year. So I wish that I could say that all 3 books would be out, or the next 3 books would be out in 2025, but it's most likely only going to be 2 of them. But I think by the end of 2026, though, is when I do plan to have all 6 of the Amada Beach books out and complete. And I'm really anxious because I have a really cute idea of art prints that I could do once everyone who's going to have kids has kids and stuff, and do little family portraits. So I'm so anxious to do that, but I'm like, I have to wait. So things like that make me so like, can I just type faster? I am going to 2 events in 2025. There's one that hasn't been announced yet, so I can't say that, but it is at the beginning of June. And then the other one is Books, Gowns, and Crowns. Yeah, I always get them mixed up. Yeah, it's in Washington, D.C. this year. I think the last week of September. That one I'm so excited for. It's a 3-day event. Some pretty big other authors, like Ellie Hazelwood is one of the authors going. So I'm really excited for that.
I just want everything spoiled. So I just tell me it all.
I know. I feel like you have told us kind of a lot too.
Yeah.
And especially just like kind of being in like the street team and stuff like that too.
So, there's so many books to read now.
I know, and I'm impressed that you plan on having all these books out by 2026. I guess thank you again for meeting us and chatting with us about your book and honestly just hanging out with us. We had a great time.
Yeah.
Talk to you later. Bye.